All right, everyone, thank you for your time. In today's presentation, we will be covering SIE exam tips on how to properly read and solve SIE exam style questions covering bonds, options, market maker quotes, and stock dividend payments. So to start with a bond, and this is one of the style of questions that you may face on the SIE exam. A bond selling at 250 has a nominal yield of 9%. How much annual interest will be received by the bondholder? Now, when you read the question, what you have to do with not only this particular question, but every question that is posed to you on the SIE exam, you have to read the question, carefully read the question, and then reinterpret what the question is actually asking you. So here on this question, a bond selling at 250 has a nominal yield of 9%. The first thing that we want to reinterpret here is nominal yield. Nominal yield is another name for coupon rate. And the coupon rate is what? The coupon rate is associated with the par value. So because we know the coupon rate is associated with the par value, then the trading rate of 250 has nothing to do with the nominal yield. As we see here, the nominal yield is also known as the coupon rate. The coupon rate is not related to the trading or market value of the bond. The coupon rate is a percentage of the par value of the bond, which is almost always $1,000, unless otherwise stated. So when you reinterpret this question, the question actually looks like this. A bond with a par value of $1,000 has a coupon rate of 9%. How much annual interest will be received by the bondholder? And it is $90. $1,000 times 0.09 equals 90. Now, in the answer here, you see I have it as 0.09. And I have it this way because for those of you who have not taken the SIE exam yet, then they will provide you with an online calculator, and the online calculator does not have a percentage function. So therefore, any percentages, you have to math it out in its decimal form, or you have to enter it in its decimal form. Next, options. Now this seems to be a pretty tough question here for most of the feedback that I have received. So the question is, an investor who has no options positions sells an ABC 55 put at 7. The put is exercised when the stock is trading at 46, and the investor immediately sells the stock at the current market price. What is the investor's profit or loss? Now, the classroom style of resolving this equation is this. I'm going to break this down. And again, this is another question that you have to reinterpret. So the investor who has no other position sells an ABC at 55 put at 7. So this part here where you see my mouse here, the 55, is not related to the contract value or the cost of the contract. This value, the cost of the contract, will be added to what the value or the investor that is buying the put contract right here at 46. So you would add these two values together because this is how much the selling or the seller is how much they are receiving. Now I'm gonna break it down in a little bit more detail here, make it more simple for you to understand. The key is to remember that options are sold in lots of 100 shares, as the textbooks teaches. Investors do not own puts. Investors buy puts if the contract is exercised. This means that the put represents an expense to the investor. Very important to understand it within this context. So when we reinterpret the question really looks like this. An investor paid $5,500. This is the investor that is selling the put. An investor paid $5,500. 55 times 100 equals 5,500 for a stock. We're talking about the put now that they are selling of ABC, and sold it for $5,300. The $46 plus the 7 times 100 equals $5,300. So here's the exercise, the price that the contract was exercised at, 46, since he sold it there at the strike price. Plus 7 times 100 equals $5,300. Did the investor make a profit or take a loss? And $5,300 or $5,500 subtracted from the $5,300 means that the investor took a loss of $200. Now here's another way, here's a shortcut way of understanding this. Let's take the cost of the contract out, take the 7 out. And because this is a put, we are talking about negative numbers. So when you look at any of you that has any experience in the audio world, you know that on the meters, you have 0, and then above 0, the numbers are +1, +2, +3, etc. Below 0 is -1, -2, -3. So, and when you understand the scale that way, you know that -1 is higher than -3. So when you look at this right here, that the put is at 55, that the investor sells the a put at 55, right? And he traded it here. The put is exercised when the stock is traded at 46. So 46, -46 is higher than -55. So automatically, just by looking at these two numbers, you can see that this investor is at a loss. Then you can add these 7 or the value of the contract to determine, is this going to bring you equal to what the investor paid for the put or not. So that's another shortcut way of looking to see, just to give you a gauge if you are on the plus side or on the minus side. Is this investor in the profit zone or are they in the loss zone? Simply by looking at these two values and understanding that a put, you're talking about negative numbers, -1 all the way down to infinity. Let's go next. Is how to read the market maker quotes. Now, when you see the quote like this, what you want to remember are these things here. The first value is the bid price, meaning how much the market maker is willing to buy a stock. The second value is the ask price, how much they are willing to sell for. And here in the brackets, now you're dealing with the quantities. The first is buy, the second is sell. This is associated with the bid price. The sell is associated with the ask price. And remember that options contracts are sold in shares of 100. So this means you have that this particular quote means that the market maker is looking to buy 2,500 shares at $10 and willing to sell 1,000 shares, 10 times 100, right? 1,000 shares at $10.10. So again, they're looking to buy 2,500 shares at $10 per share and sell 1,000 shares at $10.10 per share. Market makers are individuals or firms that keep the market liquid. The bid price is what the market maker is willing to pay right here, right? And the ask price is what the market maker is willing to sell for. So they're willing to buy or pay $10 a share for 2,500 shares. And they're willing to sell 1,000 shares at $10.10. The bid price will always, or the ask price, will always be higher than the bid price. The bid price is always lower than the ask price, and the ask price will always be higher than the bid price. Now, on your exam, you may see it formatted this way. If it is formatted this way, then above ETFA, this is the market maker's ID. And the question, you may be presented with a question that says, which of the following is true? And it'll be formatted similar to this format that you see here on the screen. The only true answers are, and remember what we just discussed, the first value is the bid, the second value is the ask. So they are willing to buy 2,500 shares of a stock at $10 and at $10 per share, and willing to sell 1,000 shares at $10.10. The ETFA is the market maker's ID. So for here, we would say the answer is buy 2,500 shares at $10, sell 1,000 shares at $10.10. ETFA is the market maker's ID. This is the only correct answer. Now, they may break it up. They may have it where in part of the available answers, it may say that the market maker is willing to buy 2,500 shares at $10.10. That is the incorrect answer. The only correct answer is what you see here. Remember that the bid price will always be less than the asking price, and the ask price will always be higher than the bid price. 2,500 shares at $10 per share is what the market maker is willing to purchase. They will sell 1,000 shares at $10.10 per share. This is the only correct answer. Anything outside of this is not the correct answer. So whatever values you see inside of the market maker quote, those are the only correct answers for the question. Stock dividends. So we're going to talk about how to calculate a stock dividend non-cash SIE exam style question. Company ABC announces a 20% stock dividend for its common shareholders. If a customer holds 1,000 shares at $50, meaning $50 per share, what is the new price and number of shares following the payment of the stock dividend? To solve this question, you will only use multiplication and division. So you're going to do 1,000 times 20%. And remember, the SIE calculator does not have a percentage function, so you have to insert the percentage as a decimal. So we're doing 1,000 times 0.20, which is 200 new shares, bringing our total shares to 1,200. You're going to separate that now. Hold that, 1,200 new shares. You will now take $50 and divide that into the 1,200 new shares, which will come out to be 0.041666. You multiply it times 1,000, and you multiply it times 1,000. In case you don't know, or during your exam you forget to move the decimal point 3 places, then just multiply times 1,000. 41.666 rounded to $41.67. On the SIE exam, they will round to the nearest cent. So once again, you would simply take the 1,000 shares, multiply that times your 20%, 200 new shares. So the answer here is you have 200 new shares, and those 200 new shares now have a value of $41.67 because you've taken your $50 and divided that into the new total shares, amount of shares, into the 1,200 new shares, which is rounded out to $41.67. Here's a bonus tip. Now, one of the things that I noticed on the exam from studying and also talking to others who have gotten a little trapped with the questions, and most students understand the content, whereas if you ask them a direct question, they can give you the direct answer to the question. The problem that many face when taking the exam, once again, is how to read the question. You may not always know what the question is actually asking you. So one of the things that I've noticed that is done on the SIE exam is that they will take a definition for a term and add that into a question or a question that has an exact term in it. So in this question here, a traditional IRA and a non-tax contribution have what in common? Carefully read the question. Identify what may be a definition of a term in the question, and then restate the question. So as we look at this question here, once again, a traditional IRA and a non-tax contribution have what in common? During test day, you may, your nerves are upset, and, you're a little anxious, anxiety. So you may not be thinking in the same way that you normally think when you're not testing. So you know what this is. So in this case here, you know what a traditional IRA is, but you say a non-tax contribution. What is that? Remember, you have to reinterpret the question. And a non-tax contribution is a Roth IRA. So this is what the question actually looks like, is what the question is actually asking of you. A traditional IRA and a Roth IRA have what in common? And the answer is simple. They both have the same contribution limits. Key takeaways. Respect the test. You have to study for it. Study, and study hard. Number 2, carefully read the question and interpret what is really being asked. Number 3, remember to eliminate any parts of the question that have nothing to do with the actual question. Number 4, all options calculations are based upon shares of 100. Number 5, carefully review the answers. Once again, I want to reiterate the point that you have to respect the test. And if you have not already, I encourage you to watch my How I Passed the SIE Exam on the first try using study.com. In the description below, you will see a link to study.com and a discount using my name, a discount code for those of you that want to use the study.com platform. However, again, I encourage you to watch that video because not only do I cover study.com, but I also share with you some other tools that I use to help me to pass the exam. If you found this presentation to be useful, subscribe, like, and share our channel. Thank you for your time. We are complete.